Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into today's broadcast. It's the Wednesday, June 17th, 2026 episode of the Marco Jure Show, the only show where the facts are facts and our truths thrive. Halfway through our week, folks, I've got to start off talking about this article that I just saw before the show began. And I got to tell you, I'm really upset about this attempt for cancel culture in this country when people do things that other people disagree with. And this article comes from the Times of India. And apparently there was a summer internship that was in New York City, a startup that was to connect, I guess, renters with landlords and verify their identities to reduce fraud. And this young man, this 19-year-old, this Austin Franco that attends Cornell University, applied for the position, submitted online, the application was sent in, and he was being considered for this position for this firm's growth team. Now, when the company attempted to arrange a Zoom interview phone call through the job platform Handshake, I have no idea what the hell that is, regardless, Franco responded with an 8-word response that left the brothers, I believe their names are Gabe and Aiden Einhorn, very stunned, if you will. And what he said, this Franco said that he was not interested in working for Jews. Not interested in working for a Jew, thanks. This was before the phone call was to take place. This is what they got from him. And now, you can have a reason to work for people or what have you. Doesn't really matter. I don't know where it says in the Constitution you must work for somebody whenever you're given an opportunity. But these two took to X, screenshot the messages between each other, and then they exposed this guy. And Gabe went on to say, I felt bad for exposing him because I thought he could have made a mistake. And he really doesn't believe this wholeheartedly. Now, the young man went back and took saying, he responded to this saying, my experience with the Jews have not been pleasant, both in person and online. This is not to say I haven't had positive experiences, but on the aggregate, this is not the case, is what Franco said regarding what he had stated. Now, keep in mind, he didn't come out and say, anything profane or hateful or full of violence. He simply just said, I'm not interested in working for a Jew. Now, he could have his reasons for it. He didn't explain the negative experience he's had. Maybe something happened to him. Maybe he was insulted or put down or bullied or maybe just treated poorly. We don't know the situation. We really don't. And we don't have to know the situation. That's his decision whether or not he wants to work for a company. He can have a reason for it. Maybe it's in the middle of the Bronx, and he says, hey, not interested in working in this neighborhood. I've had bad experience in this neighborhood. They say, well, what do you, not like people of color? I mean, this is stupid. By the way, it's him turning down this job. He doesn't have to work for this company. He has the right to choose whatever the hell he wants to do. Now, if it's, the reason is, listen, he worked for maybe Jews in the past. He was treated poorly. Maybe they said mean things to him, about him. We don't know. We have no idea. We don't know what his experience is. And notice he comes out and says, hey, I've had really positive experiences too, but, by and large, more of them have been negative, and I just don't want to put myself through this again. Thanks, anyway. And you're going to try to ruin this young man's life now? Now we have to hear about he's anti-Semitic? Nothing he said was anti-Semitic. We've got to stop this cancel culture. And by the way, we're starting to see this materialize on the right now. And it makes me absolutely sick to my stomach when I see these types of things and hear them. Especially from news organizations I enjoy watching, for instance, Fox News. Yeah, I was, again, shocked to see this. I really was. And by the way, you can have whatever opinion you want, certainly when it comes to really anybody, again. But if you hate people just for being Jewish, black, Chinese, Asian, white, if that's the core reason why you hate them, yeah, there's something wrong with that. But that wasn't demonstrated in what this young man said. We've got to do better than this, folks. We really do in 2026. Anyways, I'm going to play this for you. I was extremely miffed when I saw this yesterday evening. I couldn't even believe this. But here's Kayleigh McEnany. They're on Outnumbered. Again, a show probably most people don't watch. And then Emily Capano responds to what she has to say, and she goes on this tirade about this guy. Again, they have no idea anything about Austin Franco. They know that he responded to this message from them in this way. Again, wasn't out of line, but he said he doesn't want to work for a Jew. And now the entire meltdown begins. Take a listen.
Einhorn, one of those owners of that company, Emily, that we just watched, he said, I felt bad exposing him because I thought he could have made a mistake, and he really doesn't believe that wholeheartedly. I'm glad we know this individual's name. I'm glad he was exposed.
Indeed, and the brothers are so generous and graceful, certainly more than I am, because I do want his life to be ruined. I agree with you. It is a permissive structure. And parents, what are you...
Did you hear that? I do want his life to be ruined. He's 19. He attends Cornell. I want his life to be ruined. I don't want anyone to hire this guy. And McEnany goes, I hope his life is ruined. That's great. This goes for news now on Middays and Fox, apparently. You want his life to be ruined because of who he chooses to work for? Let's spin this around for a second. Let's say someone applies for a job at Fox. And they say, you know what, I've had a bad experience working with conservatives. Obviously, again, if you're working for Fox, I think you would expect that. But let's just say, for instance, the person that you're working for, this person identifies with a group of people that maybe you've had bad experiences with. Again, we can make any judgment we want. But let's say, for instance, they respond back saying, you know what, I've had some bad experiences around conservatives, particularly white conservatives, and I just simply don't want to do this anymore. I was, thanks, but no thanks. And then they go on and try to ruin your life. The guy didn't take the job. It's his own loss. And again, he could do whatever the hell he wants to. Maybe he had another opportunity. Maybe he just didn't feel comfortable doing it. Again, he could feel however he wants to feel. But he didn't respond in a way that was rude. He didn't respond in a way that was full of hate. He didn't say anything about any type of violence and hoping for the worst for these two guys. It just simply wasn't like that at all. Now, had that been the message, obviously we'd all agree on that. That's uncalled for. But the brother goes, I felt bad for him. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew he would get the response he would, especially by the low IQs on Outnumbered. Absolutely. And now they're trying, I'll play the rest of it for you, but again, I just want to stop right here and say, this is uncalled for. To respond in a way like this, when the response was simply just, hey, I don't want to work for Jews. Okay, fine. You're not going to work here then. We don't need you. We'll get other people to work for you. It's not the end of the world, is it, folks? But this is cancel culture in 2026. We will ruin your life unless you do what we want you to do. And I think that's extremely disgusting. I do find this absolutely appalling, coming from so-called news pundits. Let's continue.
Your children putting out there? What are the people that have been in your household putting out there online and to their friends? What has been fomented? Because clearly there's a disconnect. Somehow this person learned that there is an audacity that you can have with this anti-Semitism. That's what I found so shocking. Guy and I toured Poland together last May, and I whenever I see things like this, it harkens me back to our trip, where apparently there's been no evolution since World War II. That deep-seated cultural hatred that's been allowed, that's been fostered, has somehow reignited here among the youth. And it is sickening. Cornell needs to take greater steps. So do parents. So do online forums. And somehow this 65-pound vessel of hatred needs to know that not only is this not okay, but it's not acceptable socially. Because clearly online and among those kid groups, I keep saying kid, among the youth, they have learned that it's okay, that it's right to have this anti-Semitism. It felt sickening for me to just quote him, by the way. To just say those words, quoting him, felt sick.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. McEnany comes out and says, who would want this guy to work for them? You idiots. I don't know. Probably anyone. He goes to Cornell. I'm sure he's got lots of skills and qualities. Of course, you'd hope so today in 2026. This is so dumb. And again, I don't mean to harp on this so much. I mean, I know most of you probably want me to go over the Iran war right now with you, which we'll go over in just momentarily. But I need to say this because, again, if you hold an opinion that people don't like, does that mean your life should be ruined? Does that mean you should have your face plastered all over the internet? Hey, this guy doesn't want to work for Jews. Hey, this guy doesn't want to work for Indians. Oh, this guy doesn't want to work for Asians. Oh, you know what? We need to get after this guy. We need to get him. Let's go get him. This is stupid. He made the decision saying, listen, I don't want to work for Jews. Sorry. Thanks, but no thanks. Now they're calling him anti-Semitic. What was said that was anti-Semitic there? But again, I don't know this man's history with Jews. Or I don't know the experiences he had. He said he had some positive experience. Said he had some bad experiences, though. Again, we don't know what took place. We don't know this man's life. He knows, though. And it was obviously an impression that he had that said, you know what? I just don't want to do this. He has the right to say no. Now, I will tell the young man, and by the way, I know this too. You don't have to always be so honest with your employers too, by the way. Just to be clear with you. You can just say, you know what, I've considered this position, and I simply would like to say I don't want to further the application process. That's all you have to say. Thank you, but no thank you. You know, I went to a job interview one time, and I was too blunt with what I was feeling at the time, and I wanted to go to another interview because I really wanted to work at that school versus the one school that had called me right after the interview and offered me a job. And I said, well, you know what? I kind of want to go to this other interview too, because I thought the pay was different, and I actually thought I would have the other job too. So I ended up telling him more than I should have, and then I got all this blowback. And it turned out I didn't even get the other job too, which was stupid of me because I had this other job. And then one of my mentors, one of the coaches that I worked with in the district, great guy, one of the best people I've probably ever worked with in my entire life. A true friend, too, by the way. This guy would do anything for you. And he goes to me, he goes, listen, when you get a job offer, just say, thank you. That sounds great. You don't have to go tell them your life story, what you plan on doing. That could happen later on if you get the other job. So in other words, say, thank you, sounds great. Go with the, smiles again. You go through the process. Oh, that sounds great. Oh, yes, absolutely. And they say, thank you, Gregory. We'll do this. We'll sign the papers over. You get your other offer. Then you say, you know what? I've got this other offer. Thank you, but no thank you. When you have it in the bag, in other words. And so, again, the young man was up front. He was honest. Okay. But look where it got him now. Nothing that this man did, though, this young man, this very young man, had any resemblance to hatred, though. And I want to make this very clear. Had he had done something where he expressed hatred towards all Jewish people or hopes, did something that was violent towards the two brothers or anything of the nature, or, I hope X, Y, and Z happens to you and your people. Okay, that's something that's a complete different situation. But the idea, we haven't evolved since World War II, shut the hell up. What the hell are you even talking about, you idiots, you? How the hell do they get jobs? I don't even know. I don't know how these two can actually say that with a straight face that they hope someone's life is ruined because of who they choose to work for. By the way, let me play this for you next. Maybe Campagno and McEnany didn't get a hold of this while they sit there with their crosses around their neck. I want you to listen to this. This came from Fox News as well. This is a rabbi, and forgive me, I don't know exactly where I know he's from Bel Air. I don't know his exact name, though. Let me see if I can find it really quickly for you. This is very important. Apparently, we're holding people accountable, and we haven't evolved since, World War II. This is a rabbi. What is his name, though? Let me see what I want to know what his name is. In fact, you know what? Absolutely, I want to know what his name is. I want to share it with you. Here it is. His name is the Rabbi Chaim Mentz of the Chabad Temple of Bel Air, California. An area I know very well, by the way. And I want you to hear exactly what he says to Jillian Turner yesterday about this incident. It's going to make you shocked, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a quick listen. And I don't know why my audio's not playing right now. Oh, I got my sound off. There we go. All right, here we go, folks.
Jillian, when I was coming into the studio, I was thinking, what can I compare this to? Do you remember the movie Planet of the Apes? The human people that came to the planet. All of a sudden, you're weird. You're the killer. You're the rotten person. Because they believed in all the evils that was unproven. To be a Jew today sometimes is like the humans that come to the Planet of the Apes and meeting people like him. And like, where did you get this from? Why do you think this way? And it's almost impossible to talk to these people, to reason to these people, because hate is an emotion. It's not intellect.
Oh, so everyone that, I guess he's comparing everyone non-Jew, that's what he said. He said everyone that's not Jewish, it feels like you're in Planet of the Apes. We're the normal people and these are the apes. Is that really what this man is saying? Should we cancel him? Kayleigh McEnany? How about Emily Capati? What do you think about it? Should we ruin this guy's life too? He literally just compared non-Jews to apes. That was his analogy here. That was the metaphor that he made here. You know, as a Jew today, it feels like, hey, I'm in Planet of the Apes. He didn't say as a normal person, as a civilized person in the modern world. No, he says specifically Jews. Now, again, can we paint everybody with one brush, say everybody agrees with this guy? Of course not. I've told you on this show many, many times. You cannot do that with any group of people. Can't do it with black, white, Jew, Christian, Muslim. You just can't do it. But isn't it interesting, on Fox News you can actually say that, and yet nothing happens. I didn't hear anything from Emily Capano today, saying we need to find out who this rabbi is and get him fired, ruin his life, defund this guy, deplatform this guy, all these things. Have you heard anything? Has Kayleigh McEnany said anything about this? Has spokeswoman, what's her name, Caroline Levitt, come out and said we need to cancel this guy. We got to do it, folks. Anti-Christian, clearly. Have they said anything like this? So you could be compared to as an ape, according to this rabbi. That's again, his words. That's what he said. This is unbelievable. So on two coins of Fox News, you can have one person calling out anti-Semitism, and the other person can be a Jewish man calling everyone that's non-Jewish an ape, and no one says a damn thing about it. This is where we are today, folks. And again, we talk about the culture on the show many, many times. Many, many times. And the culture is rotting from within. Why? Because we can't agree on things. That's the problem with all this. No one should be full of hate. Nobody should be. No one should hate anybody specifically because of their race, their creed, where they came from. I told you on this program before, I know people that are here illegally in this country, and there are great, wonderful people in this country that love this country too, by the way. I know people that are Jews who love this country, who are great people, wonderful, some of the best people I've ever met. I know black people, same damn thing. Great people, hardworking people, follow the law, every single thing. You can't, same thing with Muslims. I know people, that's the beauty of living in Los Angeles. You meet every single person, every group of people. And when you understand this, when you see people and see how great everybody is, and you judge people on that character of how they act, what are their qualities, what do they do, what do they stand for, when you meet these people and you understand this, we have so many more similarities with each other than we have differences, but we hone in onto little, I guess you'd call these, intangibles, really. How somebody may say something and then they twist it completely just to ruin someone's life. I mean, it's just disgusting on that front. You heard exactly what the guy said. He said, my experience with Jews have not been pleasant. Okay, fine. Okay, maybe he had some bad experiences. Maybe he was picked on growing up. Maybe he had a job where the owners treated him like crap or said something rude like what this rabbi just said to him. He says, you know what, this isn't worth it for me. I'm done with this. We have got to stop putting everybody in this little box, I guess I'd say, and say that everyone needs to fall in line. No, you must love this group, but this group's okay to hate. That's fine. Okay, yeah, you can spit on whites, no problem whatsoever. Whites and Asians in the college admissions, fine. Discriminate against them. Everyone else is upper class, of course. Roll out the red carpet for them. This has got to stop. A country cannot survive acting like this, where anyone could go online and dox people. Anyone can go online and try to ruin someone's life, deplatform them, demonetize them, prevent them from getting future jobs. I mean, what the hell's wrong with these people? First of all, what made any of you the arbiters of morality? No one is holier than thou. No one is perfect, by the way. We all make mistakes. We all say things we don't want to sometimes. But they're trying to equate somebody not wanting working for a particular group of people and equating that to the Holocaust? Really? We haven't evolved since World War II? What the hell is wrong with these people? I'm very, very disappointed with these two. Really, I am. And again, why would you want to go out of your way to ruin someone's life? Seriously, why would you wake up and want to have this opinion? And I say to McEnany, I say to Emily Capano, I think Guy Benson was on the show that day too, and he starts talking about, oh, he went to Poland and saw the death camps. Okay, are you really comparing this guy to what took place during World War II? Really? That's your position? This guy's as bad as what some people have done during World War II? Really? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hey, here's your chance now. Here's a rabbi that compared all non-Jews to apes. What are you going to do about it? Let's see what you do about it. My guess is absolutely nothing. Nothing. All right, let's move on, folks. I'm so upset about this. My blood pressure is through the roof right now. I just can't take it. I can't take this nonsense. There were people on the news media that try to ruin other people's lives. Again, I told you this before. It was his loss. He didn't get the job. He didn't want the job. And he has the right to turn down the job for whatever the hell reason he wants. Money, whatever it may be. Could be the neighborhood it is in, too. Doesn't matter. I mean, this is stupid. This is very, really, really stupid. Anyways, I want to talk to you about the so-called event that could have taken place during the UFC Freedom 250 that took place on Sunday on President Trump's birthday. His 80th birthday, by the way. And now we've got 5 people in custody as of Monday, and investigators are now identifying some 23 people as part of this political network of plotters. And this is crazy when you start to read all this, if the allegations are true. But there was an alleged plan to involve the use of explosive-laden drones to hit the buildings near the event. This is crazy. In other words, they want to force a mass evacuation, steer the crowds towards the pre-stage sniper team. This is what officials have said. Hey, this is crazy. And then a second wave was allegedly planned to storm the White House gates, according to the officials. Really to kill as many people at this event as possible. This is insane. Again, if true, this is insane. Now, the FBI first learned of the threat on June 10th and worked with partners to secure probable cause for an arrest in Cincinnati, where one suspect was taken into custody. Court documents identified the suspect as 19-year-old Tyson Proper. Yeah, he looks like a Tyson Proper when you look at this guy. Holy cow. Folks, this is real hatred. This is real violence. This is real insanity. This is unacceptable. Now, according to a criminal complaint, Proper allegedly spent $3,000 of his own graduation money to purchase lots of ammunition, guns, extra magazines, and other items for the alleged attack. Authorities had estimated that several boxes of ammunition that Proper had allegedly acquired contained thousands of rounds. It's also alleged that Proper acquired an AR-style rifle. Oh, those weapons of war, right? Oh, yeah, there we go. A bullpup rifle painted with the American flag and 2 plate carriers with AR-style magazines. His family voluntarily turned him over to law enforcement. I believe his mother called in and couldn't believe this. Says here that his father told officers that Proper had quit his job to meet up with people that he met online to conduct missions and recons, according to the complaint. It is said that Proper's mother had first alerted the authorities, there we go, over concerns about his recent alleged firearm purchases and communications with individuals online. This is the part of the insanity of what goes on online sometimes. You actually find people that are pure evil. They want to do these heinous things to people because of their certain political affiliation. That's obviously wrong. Again, we should all agree on this. Hating people simply because of what they believe in is wrong, folks. This is wrong. Again, we tie this to religion. It's wrong to hate someone if they're Christian. Simply, that's the only reason why you hate them. Or if they're Jewish, or if they're Muslim, or if they're Hindu, or if they're Buddhist, or whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. It's wrong. Now, 2 others were identified as well. Brian Omar Rosa and Michael Allen Thomas were arrested in California for allegedly being involved in this plot. Both men were charged with conspiracy to commit murder. They appear in court on Monday. This would be this past Monday in Riverside, California. Yep, there we go. We also have Daniel Eskridge of Kansas City, Missouri, and Abraham Alvarez, of Omaha, Nebraska, were also arrested. Court documents say Eskridge and his wife told investigators that he described himself as a recruiter for the group and had amassed tactical gear, including a rifle, ammunition, and other equipment, in recent months. Alvarez allegedly operated under the online moniker Shepherd and served as a key organizer of the plot as well. So this is very, very troubling, folks. When you plan something like this at an event to kill as many people as possible, there's no words for this type of evil, this type of violence that people would like to do to other people, of which they don't even know. So this is very, very shocking, especially to hear that something like this could have taken place. But I think it goes a step further, too. We're talking about drone warfare right now, and what these drones can do. Can people really attach these explosive devices to these drones or munitions just so they can set off, replicate what a gun would do, and use that in order to commit heinous acts against people in the future? So in other words, if you're running on the scene, you see a drone over your head, and all of a sudden it drops down to you and it explodes and kills you. I mean, this is just taking violence to another level. And people are getting very, very brazen about what they would like to do, certainly with these certain types of technology. And again, we've got to be aware of all this, that this could become a true reality should people start to, again, replicate these military-style drones and attack people with them, or attack buildings, or attack infrastructure. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, Kash Patel was on the scene and credited the FBI and the DOJ and law enforcement and their partners for acting very quickly across multiple states to prevent the alleged attack. Thank God nothing took place. But I do want to know what the motive was for these people. What was the actual motive? Why would they want to do this? And I think we all deserve answers to this. It doesn't say here, I believe, as to why this took place. But again, it's very, very troubling. Here it says the alleged plot comes amid a growing series of threats and security incidents involving Trump and senior administration officials, but it doesn't say anything about why they wanted to do this. Now, I heard from somebody that Epstein was one of the reasons why they wanted to do this. It doesn't say that here, I don't believe. So I'm not sure exactly why they were targeting every single person at this event. What was the reason for this? So this, again, very, very troubling. Again, when you radicalize people, when you harbor this hate in your heart to just want to hurt people, we can't have a society like this, folks. It simply is not going to work when you have people so far radicalized. And that's why yesterday I talked to you about Bernie Sanders influencing that level of the base, where everything they do is completely against American values. I'm not saying there's any connection to Bernie Sanders here, but what I am saying is when you go down that path, when you will do anything possible to upend the status quo of the country or the existing government, if you will, that's problematic. You cannot live in a society like that where anything goes, where violence of that stature and magnification can just be where you would resort to violence like this at an event at the White House, where you want to kill as many people as possible. So it's very, very scary stuff, folks. And again, I'm glad that obviously they were stopped and nothing happened, but this becomes the new reality in this country. When people think that terrorism and violence will solve their problems, it will not solve your problem. The hate in your heart is there for whatever reason it's there, but it's not going to solve your problem. And hatred never wins, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just point that out to you as well. So I'm glad this took place, that they were stopped and they were apprehended before this could even foment into what could be a very, very dangerous situation. And I'm glad everybody was safe and this was stopped right away. Hopefully we'll get answers as to why this took place and what caused this radicalization. But certainly this is something we cannot allow, folks. This cannot stand in this country. I do want to say one more thing before we move on to what's taking place in Iran. And this development obviously comes from Just the News. And Kevin Warsh, the new Fed chair, is expected now to lead his first interest rate meeting today. And we're supposed to be getting the information sometime later this afternoon. I'm told 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, we'll figure out exactly if we're going to keep the interest rate steady on Wednesday or what will take place. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles this. I do believe he will try to raise the rates just a little bit. And I say that to you because we're seeing inflation going up. And when you see inflation at the 4.2% mark, you got to say to yourself, something's got to give here. Because rates simply just can't stay the same. Certainly they can't go down. This would be the wrong time, absolutely, to lower interest rates. So I don't think he's going to do that. I don't know what will happen with Trump and his relationship after his first meeting. Warsh has obviously vowed to keep the Fed strictly independent, of course, overseeing the monetary policy for what it is, despite Trump's push, of course, to lower the interest rates because, again, Trump wants the cheap money to be flowing in and, of course, the economy to expand and to grow and everything of that nature. But you can't do that when you have 4.2% inflation. And it's going up, and it's only going to continue to go up from where it is right now. We haven't seen the end of it. So will Warsh go up a couple points, a couple basis points? What will he do? Only time will tell, of course. Investors have also said that the press conference will be a good time for public to see Warsh's leadership, especially given Trump's heavy criticism of Jerome Powell. So I'm interested to see what he does. I think he will have to raise the rates just a little bit, at least. Again, if you have 4.2% inflation, you really should have 5.2% interest rates. That's the way they kind of monitor this and they kind of tackle this. Again, it's going to cause things to contract. So that's why I told you, folks, things are going to get worse before they get better in this country. And again, we need to stop this war in Iran. So I'm interested to see how Warsh handles this. Will he be independent of Trump's idea that he will lower interest rates? Only time will tell today. We'll keep an eye on that for tomorrow's show, of course. But I would expect, if I had to make a guess, right, if I have to make a prognostication, I would have to say the rates will go up just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, folks, let's move on. Let's talk about where we are in this war with Iran now. And this was released from The Hill earlier today. It says, here's what is in Trump's reported 14-point memorandum of understanding with Iran. This is very interesting here. Now, I read you the Iranians list the other day, and I've got my other list right here so we can kind of juxtapose the lists amongst each other and see where they meet each other. And maybe the Iranians' plan is the plan. I don't know. But here we go. Let's take a look at it. It says here, Lebanon included in ceasefire. So look at this. When we look at the Iranian list, the first thing on it says permanent and immediate cessation of all war on all fronts, including Lebanon. So clearly, Lebanon is involved in this. Trump has acknowledged that Lebanon will be a part of this. So again, it looks to me exactly like the Iranians are going to get a lot of what they want. I'll just tell it to you as it is. So this means that the tensions between Trump and Netanyahu obviously will probably expand and get much, much worse before they get any better. We're seeing the defiance coming from the leaders of Netanyahu's government, certainly the Ben-Gvirs, the Smotriches, the Katzes of the world, the Naftali Bennett's, for example. He's now coming out and saying he's going to be Iran's worst nightmare. Only time will tell if that's true or not. But Israel has said it will not withdraw its forces from the border regions of Lebanon and maintain the right to defend itself against Hezbollah. So again, if they stay in the region, if they continue to bomb inside of Beirut, which again, I believe that will take place, you'll see things continue to get more and more out of control as time goes on. That is the situation where we're in. And if that takes place, we don't have a memorandum of understanding. We don't have any progression in these negotiations. That's going to be a major, major problem. The next thing on the list is 60 days for a final deal. Again, we know that the 60-day mark, the 2 months, will allow them to hash out their differences, of course. But again, that's not really a provision. But again, it will take 60 days before anything becomes finalized. Remember, this is just a framework, folks. This is not anything written in stone. This is just to get things to come together to say, what do we need to do to get this war to stop? What needs to take place? Where do we say, what do we want? What do you want? What can we hash this out on? Where do we start from? These are the building blocks. This is the foundation. And the next one obviously makes sense. Reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. This, again, is very, very crucial. Obviously, to President Trump, he understands the economy is struggling right now, as one could imagine. But another memorandum, both sides said that they would agree to restore shipping through the Strait of Hormuz to its pre-war levels, within 30 days of the memorandum of understanding being signed. And I do think the Iranians will likely hold that to the very end. So in other words, they will not allow anything to go through regularly until probably that 30-day mark. I do believe they'll continue to use the Persian Gulf, or what is it? Persian Gulf Authority is what it's called. I think it's called Persian Gulf Strait Authority, excuse me. And look, they'll be collecting fees and what have you, and that's the way it's going to work. Now, in response to this, the U.S. would then lift its naval blockade, which again, the Iranians have said this is what they want. And while this is taking place, Iran would then commit to removing any technical obstacles, which would be the sea mines in which they've placed all throughout the Persian Gulf, to prevent ships from freely traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. All right, so right now it sounds like Iran's getting everything it wants. Let's go down. Creates $300 billion reconstruction fund. Now, this is the kicker here, and I got to tell you this too. This sounds like we're losing completely. Now, it says here that the United States, together with its regional partners, I guess that would mean the Gulf Arab states they've worked with to foment these attacks with, I'm assuming that's what it means, will ensure the financing of at least $300 billion for reconstruction in a fund for Iran. It says here the implementation mechanism for this plan will be determined as part of the final agreement. Trump did say on Wednesday that the U.S. would not contribute to the fund, but he had added that they couldn't stop other countries from investing in Iran. I don't know how that works out, because again, if they don't get the $300 billion, what happens then? What would happen as a result of this then, if they don't get the money back for reconstruction? Now, J.D. Vance spoke with Sean Hannity the other evening, and he had this to say about this. I want you to take a listen to clip 3.
No, it's not. So I've seen a lot of misinformation out there. I've seen $24 billion going from the United States to Iran. That number is totally false, totally made up. Fundamentally, what this thing does, Sean, is you got to appreciate is, number one, the Straits of Hormuz were open immediately. You already see oil prices coming down substantially, and I think they're only going to come down even further. Number two, it ensures that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. And number three, it does go and say, look, if the Iranians are willing to change their ways, if they're willing to behave like a normal country, stop trying to build a nuclear weapon, stop trying to fund terrorism all over the Middle East, then we are willing to actually fundamentally transform our relationship with them. That's what the president has offered. Now, of course, we would need to verify that. We would need to see real progress and real action.
They
not
know
just
that's
words.
part of the deal?
Absolutely. It's written right there in the agreement, Sean. And here's the thing. Yes, you're right. Sometimes when, information about this deal will leak out, you'll have somebody on a propaganda channel in that country, in Iran, who will say something that isn't true. I think it's sort of expected. It frustrates me too, but it's expected that some Yahoo is going to say something about the deal that is untrue. What really bothers me and frustrates me, and is unexpected, when the American media literally picks up talking points and propaganda from the RAGC that has no support in the text of the agreement that we've actually negotiated and no basis in reality. This is good for the American people. The Iranians don't get a dime unless they behave and change their behavior. Right. And this means that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, Sean.
So who are they going to get the dimes from, Mr. Vance? Is it going to come from the United States? Is it going to come from their allies? Are we going to funnel money into those countries for their own so-called reconstruction? Then some of that money will go to Iran as well? What's taking place? Who's going to fund this then? So Trump went out and said, we're not going to give them $300 million. Well, the real number was $300 billion. So which is it? And by the way, let me just say one more thing. Trump has tried to distance himself from the JCPOA for quite some time. You all would agree with me on that one. Trump, every time he talks about this deal, he talks about the JCPOA, how horrible it was, how it was such a bad deal. It allowed Iran to get a nuclear bomb, even though it was preventing them from getting one, at least for that 10-year moratorium. But let me ask you this. If the deal's on the table, they know what the deal is because they've agreed to it, why hasn't Trump come out and shared with us what's in this deal right now? When are we going to learn about this? Obviously, they have the information. So why wouldn't Trump come out if he's so proud of this deal, if everything is better than the JCPOA, which he ripped up in 2018? Why would he not come out and share this with us? This is what this does that the JCPOA did. This is in here, in this memorandum of understanding. We're going to work on this. We'll get this. It's better than what the JCPOA said. Why is he not doing this? That's what I want to ask you. If it's so much better, his plan from the JCPOA, where is the outpour of this? Why are we not hearing about this? Why are we hearing about the great deal that was had, the art of the deal, if you will? I asked myself that question now. It's been a couple of days now. Obviously, he knew what was in there on Sunday when he signed it electronically. He's supposed to be going to Geneva on Friday to sign it again now, sign off on it completely. So where is the information? Why are we not getting this from the President of the United States? I think we all have a right to know this too, by the way, don't you? I want to know what's in this plan. So where is it? So that tells me that he's obviously not terribly proud of this, and that we're probably getting much, much less than we ought be. But again, this is what happens when you lose a war, folks, when you go in for Israel. Okay, let's move on. The next one says, U.S. commits to ending sanctions. Again, another win for the Iranians. This would be ending of all types of sanctions on Iran, and include the sanctions approved by the United Nations and the International Atomic Energy Agency as well. Again, as well as all unilateral sanctions. So this is a major, major boost for the Iranian economy, should this take place. Iran commits to no nuclear weapons. Well, again, they haven't been building one, so therefore, I don't know why they wouldn't sign on to it. Unless they've totally gone AWOL and decided, hey, we're going to start doing this now. And I think this is the last-ditch effort, by the way. If this doesn't work, if we can't come to the table and sign this, or if something gets ruined in these agreements, for instance, the war with Israel and Lebanon, or so-called Hezbollah, then I think the Iranians will say, you know what, we can't deal with the United States because they can't rein in Israel. Israel's going to continue to do what they want to do. We're not going to stop funding Hezbollah. We're going to stop funding Hamas when Israel's killing people in these countries, our Shiite brothers, every single day. So they're not going to do that. It just simply is not going to happen. They're simply not going to allow them just to be on their own. They're going to stay together because, again, they have these shared values. They're against Israeli aggression. That's what it comes down to. Again, you can argue with me all you want. That's what it comes down to. And we know this because Israel invaded Lebanon first. It wasn't Hezbollah firing rockets off into Israel first. It's never been that way. Hamas formed because of what takes place inside Gaza. That's why they formed. And by the way, Netanyahu also helped to fund that group as well. Same thing with Hezbollah. By the way, Hezbollah has political standings inside of Lebanon as well. It's really a political party. Again, you could like Hezbollah, you could not like Hezbollah. It doesn't matter to me, but this is why they formed. They formed because Israel's aggression, starting in 1978 in southern Lebanon, and finally in 1982, they formed to, again, relinquish themselves of this illegal occupation of which Israel has no right to be in Lebanon. This is why we have borders, folks. And by the way, we need to understand our borders. And I thought it was funny, too. Trump came out, I don't have the audio for this, but Trump came out the other day and he was eschewing Netanyahu going after Hezbollah again on Sunday. He was mad about it. He couldn't believe it. Again, to me, it's all WWE. It's all smoke and mirrors. But anyways, what he said was he wants Syria to then go in and start fighting Hezbollah so that Israel does not have to. So he's not really opposed to taking on Hezbollah. But what he is opposed to is Israel doing this because then it stops his plan, because again, it's causing this economic turmoil all throughout the globe. So when I heard that, I said, okay, so he's going to bring in the head and hand chopper into Lebanon now to invade them and take on Hezbollah, which again, I don't think they want to take that feat on, certainly not right now. But it just shows you that the cause of Israel, right, is to get people in the region that will not oppose them. That's the whole point of going into Iraq, going into Syria, going into Lebanon, going into Gaza, taking on Yemen, all these other countries, folks. This is why we're doing this. This allows them to take down anything that stands in their way. That's why we're in Iran right now. That's the only reason why we're there. It has nothing to do with a nuclear bomb. They don't have one. All of our intelligence shares this with us all the time. You think after 30 years of being told, hey, they're a couple of weeks away, they're a couple of months away, they would have figured it out by now. And they probably wouldn't have signed a JCPOA if they wanted to destroy Israel and the West and the United States, if they're these theocratic, fanatical psychopaths, as we're always told day by day in the mainstream press. Just my thought. Anyways. So, again, I think it's interesting that he still wants now Syria to now go in and fight Hezbollah. It's amazing to me. Yeah, his buddy now, right? The head and hand chopper, the head and hand chopper, I call him. That's who al-Shara was, and it's unbelievable that he's now the leader. But it's a failed state now in Syria, and again, again, be a faction of the U.S.-Israeli alliance in the region. That's what it is. Now, essentially, the agreement would leave the fate of Iran's stockpile of weapons-grade uranium and all the other mutually agreed nuclear-related issues to the final agreement. So, again, there's nothing here about enrichment levels or anything like that. Trump has said that this provision achieves 99.9% of his goals, preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Again, we had this already in the making with the JCPOA, folks. We did. Again, this is where we were. We had this last June. We had this in February when we were talking to them. They said, yes, we will agree to this. And then both times we attacked them. So I think we could have skipped the war and just signed the agreement with them instead of going back and forth and then, of course, bombing them and now creating this 6-day war now with them now. Simply not acceptable. And it seems like we're giving up much more than we ought to be. Had we just went through with the negotiations like we should have last June, which would have been a fine deal with them. Maintain status quo for Iran's nuclear program. Okay, so now this deal doesn't explicitly bar Iran from enriching uranium, instead maintaining the status quo of its nuclear program. So in other words, they can have a nuclear program, but they're not going to be able to develop a nuclear weapon. That's what I take away from this. U.S. waives sanctions on Iran's oil exports. So again, that's a given. It's, again, a major boost to their economy if they're able to do that, because they're a major oil exporter in the region. Unfreezes Iranian funds. So this would be the $24 billion that, I guess, J.D. Vance said, hey, we're not giving them a dime. Okay, are you going to give them a dime of their money? So another provision would unfreeze Iranian assets and funds held abroad in light of the progress of the negotiations toward a final agreement. So they keep going back to this. Well, if they act responsibly, if they stop their attempts to have a nuclear weapon, they don't have any of these attempts. You can't point to one example of where they have a nuclear bomb. J.D. Vance can't point to it. Trump can't do it. Nobody can. Not even John Dalton. John Dalton, by the way, was on the news yesterday saying, I think Trump's doing this because he's afraid of what's happening in the economy. Well, no kidding. He's in a midterm election cycle. He doesn't want this to weigh him down. He knows this looks extremely bad. So no kidding he doesn't want to be a part of that. Makes sense, doesn't it? I think we all would understand this for what it is. Trump sees the writing on the wall now. The economy's getting worse. Inflation's getting worse. Anything he achieved economically with us since Biden left office is now being wiped away. Any wage growth in the United States, wiped away by inflation. That's what inflation does, folks. It's a hidden tax. People are not happy about this. And we certainly don't like illegal wars of aggression. So people are very upset about that with them as of right now. Final deal subject to UN Security Council approval. I told you this before. They will want this to be signed and to be approved by the UN Security Council and reviewed by Congress under the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. That's what's going to take place. So there you go, folks. There you go. Now, it doesn't say anything that they can't have a toll system in the Strait of Hormuz, so there's certainly nothing there. But this looks very, very familiar to what I read you on Monday's program. Everything in this 14 points of theirs really is highlighted in this. And the only thing we get is that Iran won't build a nuclear weapon. Well, we already had that. They're not doing that. Certainly not yet. Now, that could still happen, by the way. If this falls apart, I think there's a high probability it can fall apart because of Israel's actions, certainly in Lebanon. That certainly this could fall apart, and then the Iranians will say, we have no other choice. We've got to build a nuclear weapon. We've got to put it on display for the world to see and say, get out of here. Stay away from us. Now, that could also prompt the United States to double down on sanctions. It could lead to more catastrophic incidents. I will say that. I'm not saying it's a smart thing to do. I'm just saying it's possible this could take place. That's what I believe. And I think we've got to be very careful about how we handle this situation moving forward. Because, again, that could become a reality very, very soon. And, yep, folks, I think they will have a toll system. I do believe that. By the way, I was listening to Brandon Wakert. He was on Redacted yesterday, and he said something brilliant. I want to share it with you because I agree with him 100%. And what he said was that the ships now that have crossed through the Strait of Hormuz, that will cross in this 60-day period, right now there's very little traffic going through the strait right now. Nothing is back to where it needs to be. But Iran will be allowing the ships to traverse through the Strait of Hormuz free of charge. That's what Trump says. Everything will be free of charge now. Everything will be flowing. It'll be fantastic. The oil will flow like it's never flown before. And, okay, that might happen. But right now they're using the traffic separation scheme. This allows Iran to manage the traffic through the strait. And they know exactly who's going where, who's utilizing it. They know what ships are using it. And they've also got the Persian Gulf Strait Authority necessary for these vessels so they avoid hitting a number of these sea mines. So there's nothing in this that says they can't go back and say to them kind of like a retrospect fee saying, hey, by the way, you crossed the strait on, June 15th, June 20th. Oh, by the way, you owe us $2 million or else you're not coming back in. That could be a reality, and I think that could obviously happen because, again, part of the agreement in this bill of theirs, this 14-point plan, says under Iranian arrangements. So what are these arrangements? It's obviously going to be a toll system or a fee system, however you want to look at it. So that's the way I see it, so they can come back and still collect this money probably afterwards, should they want to. So I would not hold that against them, that they would try to do that. All right, folks. All right, let's move on to something else. This one's interesting, too, by the way. This comes from the Federalist. And it says here that Chicago cross-burning is the latest example of left-wing extremism being blamed on the GOP. Well, no shock there, of course. Now, when a burning cross was found at a Chicago park last week, the media and the Democrats already apparently knew who was responsible. So in other words, it was, of course, the Republicans. Yeah. Don't we hear this all the time? Did we hear about, who was it? Jesse Smollett or whatever the hell his name was, that loser that pretended that a bunch of white supremacists in Chicago, where 84% of the people voted for Barack Obama, put a noose around his neck, doused him in what, kerosene was it? Yeah. That turned out to be a major hoax, of course. And he should still not see the light of the day for being such a lowlife. That's my opinion, but there we go. So now we're being told, though, given the framing, that it's, of course, we're searching for a white supremacist, a racist, given how the left has broadly painted Republicans. By the way, I told you that's why you can never just paint everybody with one brush. It doesn't work out. Even Governor J.B. Pritzker, right, Pritzker the pig, said that while speaking at a Rainbow Push Coalition annual conference, whatever the hell that is, I don't even want to know what that is, he said the fact that it occurred at all speaks to what happens when the seeds of racism and fascism grow unchecked in our country. Oh, yeah. Who's fascist? I think the left is fascist, aren't they not? I think so. Now, again, given how Pritzker has compared himself to Trump, and, of course, Trump to the Nazi regime, and Democrats right the large, they accuse Republicans of being fascist all the time, even though that's completely not the case here. But this is the mindset they give you. So these are the same kind of people that anytime that something like this happens, it's white supremacy, this white supremacy mentality is a cross-burning. So they figure they have license now to say with people pardoned and more or less shaking hands with the devil, they can go on and continue to act like this. Now, folks, this is just simply wrong to accuse people of this. That this would be something that, again, they're trying to equate everything to the KKK and what have you. But what they fail to mention is that the KKK, when they did these cross burnings, these were Democrats. These are not Republicans doing this. And I think Chicago's a hell of a long ways from the American South. Just, again, wanted to share that with you. But the burning cross was found against a tree in Grant Park, with authorities immediately launching an investigation. They said they obviously referenced the historical reference beforehand, but didn't know the severity of how racially motivated it may seem from what it did. And again, police have not confirmed nor denied whether the suspect they have is in custody. This would be, I believe his name is Marilyn Liu. So they're saying this student at the University of Illinois, Chicago, was said to have been the one to light the cross on fire in protest of President Trump. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The last name Liu, L-U, is not a white name, folks. I just thought that was very interesting. I wanted to, again, share that with you. This is the individual they have in custody. But instead of waiting for the investigation to be complete or apparently for the suspect himself to come forward, the Democrats pounced on this incident right away, trying again to smear Republicans as racist and evil, white supremacists, any name they can throw out there. That's all the thing they're good at, throwing pejoratives out at Republicans. That's what it comes down to. Now, of course, the effects got in the way of the narrative, much like they have in many of these previous acts of democratic violence or vandalism, right? We've seen this time and time again. Yeah, we can go through the list of all these, but that would be futile for you to hear right now. But we've got to come to terms with the idea that anytime something happens, it's got to be a Republican in some of these blue cities. Again, this is a city that 84% of the people voted for Barack Obama. You're telling me that there's Republicans going around lighting crosses in parks now? A park where Obama had once spoke? Really? It's amazing, folks, the way that these are labeled. And again, it doesn't do anything to bridge us together. And that's what the point of all this is, to blame one side, to point to one side saying, look, this is what this side does, and we do it back and forth to each other. But this simply does not happen, certainly not in any meaningful way on the right, folks. You don't see this coming from people on the right. You just don't see this. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm saying it's not happening. So I wanted to be very, very clear with you about this. And by the way, it's just more fodder for them to throw at the Republicans, especially in a time like this. All right, folks, we have a few moments remaining on today's broadcast. Unfortunately, the show goes by too quick. I almost feel like I should have a 2-hour program just so I can get through everything I have for you. So many other great articles, too, I wanted to mention. I'll try to go over these two really quickly. I've only got about 3 minutes, but let me try this. There's now a bill now trying to be put on the ballots in November in Oregon, and it's called the new initiative called the Peace Act, and it actually has enough signatures on it to make the ballot this November. And the initiative originally gained support as a way to stop animal cruelty, which, again, I think is a noble thing. We don't want animals to be mistreated or abused or what have you. Certainly not. But now it's morphed into this kind of vegan, I guess, mantra now. And now they want to put on the ballot, you're never going to believe this, that they want to put an end to hunting, fishing, and farming, and raising animals for food, in that matter. Can you imagine the insanity of this? I mean, again, once you start going down this route of, this is cruel to an animal, well, anything can go then. Again, when you have this broad language. So I think banning hunting would effectively destroy various parts of the animal populations in and of itself, obviously causing disastrous disease outbreaks and what have you that the hunting community has kept in check for decades. Again, how are you not going to farm? You're going to see massive impacts, especially in Oregon, in the cattle farming, and the fishing industry in Oregon as well. And if this passes, this would effectively criminalize the entire meat production base for the state under this animal cruelty status that they seem to be wanting pushing right now. So again, the vegans may have their last say in all this, but again, I can't see anything like this passing. No sane state would do something like this. Now, I don't know if Oregon's a sane state. Certainly not most of the state, but can you imagine that if a state actually would ban farming and ban hunting and fishing? It's just, we're in such interesting times with this, where the insanity reaches no bounds. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and never seems to end. And by the way, too, what are they going to utilize for food? I mean, Bill Gates, are they going to usher in Bill Gates' lab-grown meats and God knows what else he makes, or his APL garbage that he puts in the vegetables? You don't have enough vegetables to be produced in the state. So what are you going to do then? Are you going to import everything? Well, what would you do? Can you even import the meat from other states? That would be something, obviously, they'd have to get through. But again, that's going to cause the price to go up. So I mean, maybe it's a win for Bill Gates. Who knows? Who knows with these insane vegans? Yeah, I don't think soy lattes are a good thing, folks. I just thought I'd share that with you. Oh, by the way, really quickly, researchers have scanned the brains of more than 2,000 older adults. I wanted to share this with you Monday. I want to get through this one today. And they found that with the individuals with lower vitamin C levels had measurably less brain tissue and differences in their structural network. Patterns tied to the default mode network So this would be a set of the regions of the brain linked to memory and self-awareness, if you will. And I thought this was interesting because what they figured out was that obviously having adequate levels of vitamin C, when that was measured directly from the blood, that they had longer longevity with proper memory and proper brain development and awareness, which again, I thought is very, very interesting. And the researchers then calculated gray matter volume, the brain's outermost layer packed with nerves for thinking and processing, and the white matter, the deeper tissue of the brain, for acts like communication cables between the brain regions. So really interesting stuff here. And I never knew that vitamin C was so important for that. Obviously, magnesium, enzyme CoQ10, omega-3s are obviously crucial for brain development and stability. But vitamin C, folks, also linked to all three brain network clusters. So this is remarkable research coming out now and showing you that, yes, vitamin C is crucial. It should be a part of your staple every single day. And this is something that should be a part of your supplemental intake every single day. Now, when I take vitamin C, I always take powdered vitamin C. I don't take capsules. I mix it with water, and I make sure it's a high dosage. You want to probably get between 3,000 and 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C every single day. And if you can do a intravenous vitamin C of 100,000 IUs, if you can afford it, do that too, folks. Do that often. Very, very crucial to get high levels of vitamin C in the body. Not only good for the immune system, but also great for the brain and skin as well. I hear the music, folks. That means I've got to run. Thank you for being here as always. Make sure you're staying prepped with food, water, medicine, fuel, money, anything to be self-sufficient. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you back here tomorrow for more groundbreaking news on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good. Stay busy. God bless.